Okay, so why don't we start out by you giving them a little bit of a trajectory, your background. I believe you work with our Western office, and how did you evolve into this expertise other than the fact that you are a GC yourself?
Yes. Thank you so much, Marlene. I I evolved into this through education with realtors and title companies as a building and code compliance specialist, as a general contractor. We're also roofing contractors. So it was really cool. I came into both the Weston Canvas office with Marlene and Ernesto, and I came into the Miami Lakes office. And that's primarily what we do. We help real estate agents and property owners navigate these issues so they can keep their closing on track, protect their clients' interest, and most importantly, maintain their relationships. By maintain the relationships, I mean get an expert, get a professional involved in a field like us. For example, if you have wood destroying organisms, or termites as they call them, you get a termite specialist. We handle open permits, code violations, after the fact permits. We do general construction, litigation support. So we handle a lot of different services. And as Marlene stated earlier, I've gotten the opportunity to work with her on some properties and help them with some open permit issues or navigate those issues. Particularly what I mean is, I'll reference, for example, today. Today is the 30th anniversary of Hurricane Andrew. So Miami-Dade County, all the time I'm called in to clean up 1992, 1993, 1994 permits because they were inundated at that time. So keep in mind, a lot of these jurisdictions, they had a lot of administration issues. The contractors had issues. The insurance companies had issues processing claims. Permits didn't get closed. So there's just a number of things here that have caused these situations to happen historically. So I just wanted to point out today, is that significant? I heard it on the radio, actually. That's how I knew. And driving to work, and it's really a day that changed the landscape of our tri-county area, of our state. I was growing up living in North Miami Beach at the time. I had friends in South Miami and Homestead and different areas in Miami-Dade that lost their home. Under that particular period, we were under something called the South Florida Building Code. Everything changes. The building codes change every 3 to 4 years. So since then, we're on the 7th edition of the Florida Building Code 2020. So a lot of things have been put into place because we're in a high velocity hurricane zone in South Florida, in the Tri-County area. A lot of things have been put into place to ensure, structures are evaluated correctly and they meet wind loads of hurricanes. So a lot has evolved since then. It affects what I do. It affects your clients' properties, you guys as real estate professionals and investors. So I thought that was a really cool, important note to bring up.
By the way, when you get a chance, I need a bunch of those flyers that look like door hangers. I just
Absolutely.
gave out the last
Yes.
3 in the office, and everybody else is looking at me. Why did so and so get it and I didn't get it? But we have a WhatsApp group.
Oh, cool.
In our WhatsApp group, I'm gonna go ahead and put a copy of this for everybody in the office. My office is the baby. We only have about 38, 39 agents here and growing, but we just recently opened up this branch. So I'm making sure that the agents here get this information ahead of time so they can avoid problems for closing.
And it's not about only closing, Marlene. It's about in a lot of classes I get into listing the property. even before you list the property, we're told by our clients, hey, this garage is a 4th bedroom. I put a bathroom in there. I want you to market the property so it's going to enhance the value and sell a different way. Well, maybe we don't want to put the pictures on the MLS. Maybe we want to protect the sellers with a seller's disclosure. So there's a number of items, and right now, keep in mind, the real estate market is super hot, as we know. The jurisdictions, by jurisdictions, I mean the county, the cities, whatever building department the property falls in Miami-Dade and Broward County, you can look up on the property appraiser, Miami-Dade, the first 2 numbers of the folio, Broward, it's a little more self-explanatory. But it's very challenging and frustrating for me. I wanted to be careful how I use my words, because these building officials, and they're sitting like they're sitting at the computers fishing Trulia, Zillow, Airbnb, VRBO, almost like IRS auditors. They're sitting in there and they're fishing information that we're putting on the internet. And they're citing property owners off of their findings on the internet. And that's how they're getting into property. So we're members of boards, Miami board, the Fort Lauderdale board. I'm a member of the Miami board. That's where I hang my license.
Who's calling me?
But keep in mind, our board syndicates onto thousands of websites. And so these are where these pictures go. So going back to before you list the property, maybe we might not want to show a picture of a particular area or room to protect the seller's interest in the transaction. So we go through a lot of those things.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I'm going to put somebody here on mute. Oh, I think Santiago needs to do it. Anyway. Go ahead, Ben. Sorry to interrupt you.
Oh no, it's fine. I was just trying to hear that. Santiago, do you have the ability to put Jose?
Which Jose?
It says
Yeah,
Jose.
yeah, he's coming in. He's coming in.
Yeah,
Jose-
yeah,
Or he
just
came in.
Yeah, he was disconnected a little bit earlier when we were trying to connect here.
Yeah.
Okay, he's in.
Go ahead, Ben.
Jose Navarro, how you doing? Was there
Good, thank you.
Good. Was there a particular question you had, or was that someone else in the room?
No, it wasn't me. I was just trying to reconnect.
Oh, good. I heard some background noise. Okay, yeah. So basically that's my synopsis. Like as Marlene asked, that's how I got started. I got started as a building in urban planning with the city of Miami Gardens, working in the planning and zoning department, and then going into Weston. I worked for the building department in Weston as a private contractor, and then I got into real estate, and then I had a lot of colleagues, professionals, friends I was helped navigating, and I saw realtors and property owners navigating these things themselves with problems with all the building departments. We probably have over 80 or 90 in the Tri-County area. So there's a lot of different people telling you different things with different resolutions. There are different building officials, and directives in local government are constantly always changing. So that's how I got involved. A lot of the times I'm called by the Miami Lakes office, by your office. My client failed their reoccupancy inspection. Reoccupancy inspections are typically in Miami-Dade County in about 9 or 10 jurisdictions. And I'll make sure to email you on WhatsApp, but these are inspections where the city is not only looking on the internet and pictures, but they want to inspect properties prior to closing, and provide them with a certificate. If they do find bedroom and bathroom, amongst other things, that are not consistent, or kitchens renovated without a permit, then they're going to fail the reoccupancy. Now, there are ways to close around it, even with a mortgage, but with stipulated agreements and things. There are also ways to close with expired and open permits. Expired and open permits aren't title issues, but a lot of times, even though it's a seller's market, buyers are really picky. They don't want to assume things from previous owners. And sometimes these are even from previous owners to the seller. So your seller. So we handle these situations in a lot of different ways. Does anyone have any talk? I mean, I talk about liens, code violations, cross liens. I talk about vacation rentals because that's a hot topic, as the values are enormous. Is there any particular topic, Marlene, you'd like me to touch on, or you just want me to continue?
Yes, and it's interesting since we were meeting with you at 11, at 10 o'clock, I started this webinar, and I kind of touched upon the certificate of occupancy. Okay.
Sure.
And we kind of did a little research of the cities that are requiring it, and the majority are in our area. North Miami was the one that first approved this reoccupancy certificate process, and then other cities followed suit, but Miami Gardens, Miami Lakes, Miami Springs, so all of those are very close to us.
Correct. They're literally I mean, every one of your, a lot of your clients are there. So,
Yes.
Even Biscayne Park, El Portal. So all these little cities, if you will, they have old structures. They have building code problems. They have cases where the bedroom and bathroom count don't match up on the property appraiser. So a lot of these things, they're trying to use they're trying to use the conveying of ownership to get compliance issues fixed. These issues can be from the 70s or 80s. So basically what the inspectors are going to do, I'll give you an example. We had a property, a single family over in Miami Gardens. Before the reoccupancy inspection, Miami-Dade County will update the property appraiser bed and bath count with a certified appraisal that was done within a year. So we were able to update that prior to the reoccupancy inspector coming out with an appraisal that the buyer already had. So there are certain ways to navigate these issues. They're mainly looking for unpermitted work. Gary Biswick, who I understand is no longer the reoccupancy inspector in North Miami, for many years he was walking around. They weren't looking for triplexes that had another efficiency. They were looking for water heaters, air conditions without a permit in single family houses. So they were looking really extremely scoped and intense on the property. And, every time the directives come worse, but mainly also what they're looking for is illegal efficiencies in a single family house. They're looking for sheds in a setback. So they'll go to the aerial of the property on the property appraiser. I do a class on that. I mean, in Broward County, for example, we could go in aerials from 2022 to 1998. So they're going in their permitting system, which is online, which doesn't have, unfortunately for the public viewer like us, we don't have all the permitting information. So that's why it's really important that we understand the properties, that you call me if you have any questions. A lot of agents have even considered pulling lien searches on the property or title companies when they take the listing, or at least doing it when you first get the contract, which is super important. You run into some areas where title companies are waiting a long time until after the inspection period. So the lien search needs to be ordered right away. Some of these cities have a 10 to 12 day turnaround time for the lien search. And with how quickly things are evolving and spinning with our transactions, your seller gets negotiated with the buyer sometimes during the inspection period. you guys are putting, which was taken out of the Florida Bar as is contract, that the seller's required to close open permits and code violations at own expense. But unfortunately, we're finding out about a lot of these deficiencies outside our general property inspection. By general property inspection, I mean when you have your general property inspection for refrigerator, outlets, roofing, it's basically a visual building inspection. Your inspector in the office works great. And so that's particularly what we do. We want to find out about open permits and code violations before the inspection period is over. So the seller and buyer don't have to negotiate with each other twice. I've seen deals fall apart. I've seen rate locks lost. I've seen listings that are beautiful listings that you guys work hard for to market and cultivate clients and leads. I've seen them get demolished. By demolished, I don't mean the building. I mean the opportunity to sell the building, or, so you're not getting to that closing table. So that's why I tell anyone they could basically call us anytime they want when they have when they have questionable photographs, concerns about illegal additions. Generally, I tell people, people will say, there's a bedroom or a bathroom, but it doesn't meet the finished floor elevation of the house, meaning the floor drops or the floor drops twice. A lot of times these are hard to convert as livable areas. We might be able to call them storage, but not a bedroom and bathroom. We might have to break down a wall so they're attached to the house because someone used to be using it as a studio or efficiency. So these are all things we run in with residential. I also handle commercial properties and multifamily properties, which is another, topic in itself. But a lot of these things based from our residential. Today I was called also about a roofing, or earlier this week, a roofing permit in Miami-Dade County. Actually, Miami Gardens incorporated in 2003, 5 or 3, and before that it was Miami-Dade County. So we had an open Miami-Dade County permit a little after Hurricane Andrew, going back to that in 1995, 96. And then the city of Miami Gardens, after 2005, they were handling building permits. They went ahead and opened their own building department, and they had a closed roofing permit. So we were able to void the Miami-Dade County permit because there was a superseded permit. So there's a number of ways these things could be handled. I don't advise you guys working on it for your clients because they have the tendency to be unexpected outcomes. Things trigger one another, meaning one action is going to throw something else off. I stand in on reoccupancy inspections. I've had agents for absentee owners let reoccupancy inspectors come in, and then their clients upset with them, or other things end up happening. So I just advise you guys to stay out of the situations, do what you guys do best, maintain your relationships, and I'll go ahead and take care of the building and code compliance issues. Generally, a lot of people ask, what does your service cost? What do you do? Who generally pays for your service? My service costs $650 to come out to the property and do a visual inspection and pull records. But before that, I give a free consultation. So if there's a very easy administrative way I can help you guys resolve a permit, or if something can't be resolved at all, and I say, look, the buyer and seller need to credit some money, we can't close this issue, then it stops there. But if I believe I can help you, I go in the field, I charge $650 for an inspection fee. That doesn't include resolution or to resolve the permit or do corrective construction, but I'm generally able to evaluate it further once I get out in the field. I try doing this type of work with engineering and code compliance. I try delivering your client a full array of deficiencies and things that could go wrong or things that we should correct. So when the city does come out and have to inspect, they don't get strung along like it's this much and then it's this much and then it's that much. But permit resolution and code violation resolution could involve just licensing and permitting. It could involve corrective construction. So we just got to be very careful in what we entertain with the client, which is my goal here. I want to alleviate those obstacles, and it's always a hardship for the seller and the agent, especially after they got negotiated with during the inspection period, to have to resolve these issues prior to closing. Sometimes they don't have the funds. I work with title attorneys. I work with closing agents. I work with all types of organizations to help the buyer and seller get to the closing table.
So it's interesting what you're explaining to us, because yes, you have a niche market, a specialty, but the fact that you're a general contractor, you look at things, totally different, because you know the process A through Z. Okay. So again, the consultation would be free to the buyer, to the seller. And at the moment of getting a listing is when you recommend that maybe one of our agents reach out to you if there is a concern.
Yes.
Right. Now, what else I wanted to say? As far as I know, we're talking about open permits, violations, things of that nature. You basically cover what areas in South Florida?
So I've gone as far south as Monroe. I've gone to Collier. I've gone north of St. Lucie. Mainly I'm in the Tri-County area, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach. And that's where a lot of these issues arise. Going back to what you said, usually I'm called in by the seller. Sometimes I'm called in by the buyers to evaluate a situation where, hey, we want to know what we're buying and getting into. We can't, negotiate with the sellers, but we at least want you to evaluate it. Meaning, what are the future implications if we do windows or pull more permits? Are we going to get hit up? But I just want to stress one thing. A lot of people in single family houses, they don't pull permits. Just because they don't pull permits doesn't mean the work isn't done right or good. So the cities would like to see a permit for a toilet and a water heater and an air conditioner. They want to see a permit for everything. People say, hey, I didn't replace the kitchen. Oh, in the kitchen, I kept everything in the same place, but I just did the countertops. And, in the eyes of the city, well, then you touch the outlets if you did backsplash and you reconnected a sink. So we need to inspect that drain line. So most of the things require a permit, outside painting and trim work. Some of the cities even require a permit for exterior. Let me start again. Interior painting, interior trim work. Some of the cities even require a permit for exterior painting if they have a color palette and they don't want the houses every color of the rainbow that are outside HOAs. So Coral Springs, which is not far from our office, they have an exterior painting permit for residential. Anything you do, roofing, windows, pool, fence, those require building permits. I've seen some people do some really risque activity by doing windows, or they'll go ahead and do driveways without a permit, and those are on the exterior. So you're calling attention to the property. If your investors are doing handyman crappy work, and the people are dragging drywall and you could see building materials on the sidewalk and the old kitchen cabinets, they're like, we hire this handyman, so he can't haul things to the dump. So we're going to leave things on the side of the road. So you just want to be very careful about the attention that you call to the property and what exactly it is you're doing. I've seen a lot of agents as partners of their clients. I've seen a lot of agents in the flipping business themselves, real estate end users, we need to advise our clients properly. Meaning, if we see our clients, doing work without a permit, or a client maybe says, you know what, I'm thinking about selling my house in 6 months, but I want to redo my kitchen. Sometimes maybe it's something we should talk them out of and say, hey, you know what? Not only do you need a full building permit for that and plans, which is a great expense, could be $3,000 to $4,000 alone without the cost of construction. Maybe a buyer might want to design it the way. So maybe a buyer might want to design the kitchen the way they want to do it. So depending on, and every property in every city is a different determination. So what I mean by that is everything is case by case, city by city, lot by lot. A lot of people get really excited. My threeplex is zoned in an RM15, and they write on the listing where you could put 15 units on the lot. Well, if you don't know how to interpret the zoning code, it says 15 units per acre, and the lot's only 16,000 or 14,000 square feet. So just make sure. And the reason why Marlene brought me today to help continue to be a resource to the office is I'm here to help you navigate these things. I'm here to help you. Hey, you think your property is on 57th. You don't know if it's Miami Lakes, Miami Gardens, or unincorporated Dade. Those are questions that I get. And depending on what jurisdictions you're dealing with, in my experience, and the Florida Building Code and the city zoning code and all of these things, I can help you navigate these issues. And I might handle issues differently depending on the circumstances of the property or the city or unincorporated county in which it's located.
Great. I wanted to kind of, I don't know if they can see it because we have you on a projector here, but I recommend that you follow Boss CGC in Facebook. So if you go to Facebook, Boss CGC, you can also follow him in Instagram. And he's got a great YouTube channel. So the noise you heard a few minutes ago, that was me subscribing to your YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you,
Video
Marlene.
turned on. It's got some great videos there that could help any customer for that matter. And I wanted to open the floor to see if anybody has questions. Go ahead, Santiago.
And also to piggyback what Marlene said, maybe some questions that you haven't thought about. It's in the videos. Like Ben has covered almost not all the questions, but most questions that Ben gets from his customers or his clients. So, but yeah, ask away. And if you're camera shy or audio shy, ask a question in the chat. Ben will love to answer it. If not, you could use your video and audio. So
definitely. I think Anthony, one of our agents here, had said something about was it a neighbor of yours or something that bought a home that couldn't get the reoccupancy? What was that you were talking about before we connected with them? No, it had to do with the developer fee. Okay, yeah. I got my wires crossed there.
If you change your carpets for tiles, you need a permit for that?
Did you hear the question?
In a single family residence, you do not need a permit for flooring. However, when you start to do townhouses and condominiums, the building code requires soundproofing. Also to add on that, since I didn't really get to talk a lot about condominiums, I deal with a lot of condos, whether those townhouses are governed as condos, whether a 2-story or 60-story building in Sunny Isles. A lot of contractors and property owners, what they'll do is they'll go ahead and get a flooring permit and show the property management and the building they have a flooring permit, and then they'll do other work in the building. Or these contractors, what they're doing is they're not calling for inspections. So any of our property owners, any people out there, make sure your contractor's working in the scope that you've hired them to do. make sure you don't tell them to do anything else, or they should pull a permit for it. In addition, a lot of people aren't checking if their contractors pulled. A lot of people are not checking if their contractors have closed out the permit. By that I mean calling for final building inspections. So my goal is for you guys to help your clients and, not be construction managers, but logically we're all business people here. If you don't leave at least 20% behind for the final inspection, sometimes the contractor just leaves. Or and unfortunately, a lot of people say, Ben, 2 years later, I didn't check. Now the permit's expired. What do I do? You've already paid the contractor. Unfortunately, everything falls on the property owner. So you would think you could go to the DBPR, who regulates our real estate licenses and construction licenses, but a lot of it falls on the property owner. And a lot of times it's the contractor who's either playing games with the terms or trying to sell the client more work. But the permitting process in general, it's a lot of consumer protection. So I highly, for example, we all know about windows, impact windows. If you pull a permit for your impact windows, not only is the city going to make sure that they've installed the TAPCon all the way into the concrete or wood substrate, like 3 or 4 inches, so it actually works in the event of a hurricane or high wind situation. They're going to check that the contractor installed what they told you they were going to install. You're not an expert on impact windows. Is it going to be ES windows? Is it going to be Lawson windows, which are a very popular manufacturer? Is it going to be PGT? So the city and municipal inspections, while there's some cost there, they're there to protect the public interest, and they're there to provide some consumer protection. So as much as you hear me say the city's being aggressive or hasty or doing things they shouldn't be, there is another side to the coin of the law where it does protect. So I get involved going back to condominiums in a lot of situations where the contractor didn't call for final inspection for a number of reasons, where it's as simple as an air conditioner, or it's as complicated as shutters or windows. In the last one I was in Hollywood Hills, in our Hillcrest area, we had to close an open window permit, but the client had renovated the kitchens and bathrooms without a permit. So those become risky situations. We have to weigh the cost and the benefit. Do we just leave this permit open? Is it not a code violation, or do we risk the chance, and the work was done correct for the shutters, or do we risk the chance of the city coming in, walking through the unit, closing out the shutters, and then citing the property for kitchen and bathrooms, and those things are kitchen renovation, which it was an open floor plan. So these are some of the things you should assess and consider. In some situations, I say, look, I recommend leaving this permit open. It's not causing any problems. The seller could credit the buyer some money, or things can stay the way that they are. But that's another example of how I help you guys navigate these situations. And I'm always happy to do it.
I have a question, and I hope I'm not going off the topic.
Nothing's off the topic.
Okay, so, and I sent you an email about this morning, but I want to bring it to the table in general terms. If you hired a general contractor and they haven't done the work that has been promised, are you able to fire that general contractor and bring another one in to finish the work, like someone like yourself, for example?
So you can do what's called a change of contractor. If the so building permits are good for 180 days, and they could be, which is 6 months, and they can be extended past them only in the situation where you contact the building department. For example, I just want to show you guys something. This is a letter from the city of Margate, and a lot of the cities and counties are doing this. They're sending the property owner and the contractor notification when the permit is going to expire. And again, this is to make sure everyone's transparent. There's also online portals where the public could check on their contractor, but it becomes very complicated if the permit is 4 years old to change the contractor, but particularly what Marlene's asking, if you're having a problem with your contractor that's existing doing work, can you change the contractor? Absolutely. You can perform a change of contractor. You could fire that contractor, give them 10 days notice. But again, it becomes it becomes problematic with performance of the agreement. And by that, I mean, what are the payment terms and what is the anticipated completion? So that's why we need to make sure. And again, contractors, business people in general, verbal agreements are binding. Written agreements are binding. A lot of people, whether they're property owners and contractors or the other way around, they're not documenting things correctly. They're not doing business correctly. And they're not outlining specifics. And if the contractor's doing business that way, it's so they could take advantage of the property owner. In a couple rare situations, I've even seen the property owner try and take advantage of the contractor, but it's usually the other way around. But again, work with someone who's licensed, someone who has insurance. You can also, if you live in a community, work with someone maybe who's doing work in the community currently. Or say I got a call the other day from someone, they said, I don't know a good pool contractor. Well, contractors are hard to find, and a lot of them have mixed reviews and things. I told them to go to the building department and ask their building department to pull up the last couple pools that were done, and see the contractors and see if they called for final inspections and see how long it took them to close the permit. So in order to be proactive and not get you in these situations, there's different ways to vet contractors and people. I've even seen situations where a contractor performs great 10 times, and then on the 11th time, they screw someone. So for that reason, not everything's 100% perfect, like when we place a tenant in real estate, we could use all of our standards, first, last, and security. We can use, I check their background, I check their credit, I did references, I checked their landlord history, all of the above. If we follow our standards, 85% of the time, we've placed a good tenant, but there's always a little bit of uncertainty in there. So that's kind of the analogy or comparison I can make to this. But again, if you follow some standards, or you can always ask me for assistance if you ever want. I'm not a pool contractor, but again, we can always talk about particular circumstances. I'm very careful in who I recommend because it's my reputation. So, and generally realtors are good recommendations for contractors. And you should be just as careful yourself, because you never want to recommend someone that's problematic. But again, it gets very messy, Marlene, when you're in the middle of a project and you have to change the contractor. Things that can help you are if you've managed the payment terms, meaning if you haven't paid the contractor out too much versus the percentage of completion. But projects do become more expensive. Things do become more complicated. I work with condominium associations. I work with owners as an owner's representation to babysit their contractors. I'm not going to name any names, but I've even seen condominium associations hire contractors without written agreements or without proper management. And, oversight is key, making sure they're vetted, licensed, and insurance, and also making sure that they're completing their current projects. That's generally a good sign.
Anyone else with questions?
Oh, I was just saying that I learned the other day that just like we check in DBPR, the license for an agent, you can pretty much check any license in the state of Florida. And there's a little link at the bottom that says view any complaints. And it'll tell you if there's been any complaints filed.
Yes, it'll tell you if, I'll elaborate on that a little, which that's correct. It'll tell you if any actions have been taken. For complaints filed, I'll give you a personal example. I've only had one complaint filed in my license history. It doesn't show up on there, but based off the state investigation, after they found out why the lady was upset over $500 or $600, and she made a complaint against my license, the state, they closed the complaint when they found it was baseless and unmerited, which it was baseless. So, but I really like, just as the local building departments are trying to enforce, and just as they're very, very, strict a lot of times, and the local building departments are the contractor police, but they say they're not the contractor police. I say, why do you keep issuing building permits to this pool company? They have 7 open permits. They're not closing their jobs. And bring it to the building officials' attention. You should put a red flag and not let them pull any permits. And some of the cities and counties do, and some of them don't. But to go dig really, really deep, I think the local building department is the best thing. I think online is the best thing. The DBPR is a great start. I've been recommending people to go to their local building department if they're able to. But again, I was involved in news reporting with Parkwood Pools. I'm part of an organization called NAREP, and one of the agents in that organization, one of the board members, was having an issue with Parkwood Pools. Parkwood Pools is a big pool company, but they had 15 open pool permits from Palmetto Bay and Pinecrest all the way to Wellington. So again, just by making sure to have your contracts, check on your city permits, make sure Parkwood Pools stop paying their subcontractors and material suppliers. The property owner had liens on their property. So just keep your eyes and ears as a consumer aware. Make sure you start the process with someone right. Make sure they're doing processes right with other people who they're doing similar types of jobs for. That's the best way I could recommend to mitigate. And usually that puts you in a great situation. Again, I know a lot of this information is a lot. I'm not trying to say anything to scare you, but a consumer who has knowledge is power with anything. A voter who has knowledge, a consumer, a property owner, an agent, a broker. So I try and empower people with that, with my experience.
Great. Well, I really appreciate the time you've dedicated this morning. You owe me a visit in Miami Lakes.
I do.
I
loved coming to the office the last time.
Awesome. Awesome. So definitely make sure you get me some of those brochures. I just send it to everybody in our WhatsApp group. And whenever they have a concern, I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you to be safe rather than sorry.
Yeah. And again, as frustrating as it is, you know, and I know you guys do a lot of social media. I get messages on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is huge for real estate professionals and professionals in general. But I do check my messages and text messages and messages on these platforms, and Santiago helps me with that. So I do my best to get back to everyone the same day or the next business day, because usually when they call me, it's about something really urgent that needs attention.
Yeah, I just went ahead and clicked on your website, and I've put it here on the screen that hopefully people are able to see it, so they can always check with you from this point here as
Yep.
well. Okay, so look at that. GC license, roofing contractor license, and all
Yeah,
the services that you do here.
and again, you know, in general, people hire people, and I see the little things the state puts out, these little brochures. It says, don't pay someone's person, look for someone paying their company, look for when you're paying someone's company, you know, look for different type of presence. Again, you know, everything is put in place for a reason. Like Marlene saying, the licenses are put into place for accountability, for insurance, for expectations to get job completed. So look for all these things, and it's very important. And like I said, if you see anything questionable, I can always help.